All right, it's time for Elon's Tweets of the Week. And he tells us that we've got a very small window here. Pranay asked him, in another 500 million years or so, the sun will expand and probably evaporate the oceans and life would be impossible on Earth. We need to either establish a multiplanetary society by then or humanity will cease to exist. And Elon said, that's when all life on Earth will be boiled off. What matters is how long civilization is capable of making the jump to Mars. This could be a very short period of time measured in decades. It took 4.5 billion years to get to this point, and civilization isn't looking super stable. Viv said, what's the estimated time frame for a self-sustaining civilization on Mars? 20 years? And Elon said, about a dozen transfer windows, so about 25 years. And can you just explain that?
So, the Earth and Mars, there are certain times when it's easier to launch a rocket to Mars than other times, just based on orbits of planets. And those are called transfer windows. And that's when you need to launch your rockets in order to get to Mars, unless you want to build some kind of ridiculous rocket, which we're not going to do. And so basically what Elon is saying is that the fastest we could create a self-sustaining civilization on Mars is if we launched enough rockets in those dozen or so transfer windows to establish that civilization.
Oh, because we get enough stuff and people onto Mars so that it can live self-sustainably without Earth anymore.
Right.
Wow. And to that point, his next tweet is from Will. Is 2022 still the target for the first cargo mission to Mars, with 2024 being the first crewed mission? And Elon said,
yes.
2024?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, that is only in 4 years. And I want to point out that for most of us watching, the transition between a single planetary species and a multiplanetary species could happen in our lifetimes.
That's exciting.
And if that doesn't make you grateful to be alive right now, because there are many things that make you not so grateful to be alive right now, that is at least a glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
And the understanding that once we have 2 planets,
we can throw one away.
well, at least we have a backup.
Right.
If there are enough problems on one of the planets.
Let's talk about monopolies here. So Alex Berenson, a New York Times reporter who wrote a book, says, I can't believe it, they're censoring it. And he's referring to Amazon censoring his book. And so Elon said, this is insane, Jeff Bezos. Elon went on to say, time to break up Amazon. Monopolies are wrong. From a guy who owns, arguably, a couple monopolies. His own boring company.
Well, there's other tunneling companies.
His own Neuralink company. Not too many of those around.
Okay.
Tesla could become a monopoly. SpaceX and Starlink could become a monopoly.
Yeah, they're pretty close.
Be careful there, Elon. So then Elon showed a picture of his lineup of cars, and Pranay said, come on, Elon, Model 3 should be before Model X in order to complete sexy. After all, you worked so hard on that joke. And Elon said,
good point.
And Elon said, this will probably get me into trouble, but I feel I have to say it. Usually he should probably just stop right there before he,
Well, I happen to agree with him on this one. He says, selling weed literally went from being a major felony to an essential business open during the pandemic in much of America. And yet, many are still in prison for being arrested with weed on them.
Right.
Doesn't make much sense, isn't right.
Yeah, really good point.
Yeah. When in the history of America did this happen during Prohibition? That the people who were smuggling, were they just locked in prison after we came out with the amendment
That's a good question.
got rid of the previous one?
Yeah, I don't know. Comment below if you're a legal scholar and you know what happened to the people who were bootlegging during the Prohibition.
I don't know. It does seem funny.
It does.
That you're like, okay, it's legal now, but hey, you guys are still in prison.
But that was the federal government changing its mind. Here it's the state. So I don't know. It's a complicated question.
It's bonkers.
That's on Legal Time News every Tuesday. And then Elon tweeted this out: Starship Production Complex, Boca Chica, Texas, gateway to Mars. So this is what it's looking like. A little scary that it's surrounded by water there because they're not high.
Yeah, for someone who believes in
level.
climate change, you'd think you'd put it, in the middle of a desert,
right.
or high up.
I mean, you do have to be near the water, I guess. But
you need to be near the equator.
And then speaking of Boca Chica, he said giant high bay coming soon for super heavy stacking. An everyday astronaut said, holy moly, how tall will the building be? 80 meters tallish. And Elon said,
81 meters tall. That is pretty tall. And again, that's to build rockets inside of a building.
And then Gary said, Mr. Musk, any updates on the traffic control autopilot for Canadians? You mentioned a few weeks ago. Thank you. And Elon said,
Thursday.
Okay, so that's this week, Thursday. You're going to be getting, Canadians, your traffic control autopilot.
Right. So it'll stop at stop signs.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's really tough living in this world full of bad news.
Why not share this with your friends and family to cheer them up and give them hope?
Sharing this clip is easy. That's why we made them. Short and to the point. Just hit the share button below, copy the link into your emails or social media posts, and thanks.
Now you know.